In Mark chapter 10, verse 46 through 52, it says this. And they came to Jericho, and as he went out of Jericho with his disciples and a great number of people, blind Bartimaeus. Somebody say blind Bartimaeus. Come on, somebody say blind Bartimaeus. The son of Timaeus sat by the highway side begging. And when he heard that it was Jesus of Nazareth, he began to cry out and say, Jesus, thou son of David, have mercy on me. And many charged him that he should hold his peace.
Yes, yes.
But he cried the more of a great deal, thou son of David, have mercy on me. And Jesus stood still and commanded him to be called. And they called the blind man, saying unto him, Be of good comfort, rise, because he calleth thee. And he, casting away his garment, rose and came to Jesus. And Jesus answered and said unto him, What wilt thou I should do unto thee? And the blind man said unto him, Lord, that I might receive my sight. Yes. Somebody say receive.
Receive.
Somebody say receive.
Receive.
Last verse, verse 52, it says this. And Jesus said unto him, Go thy way, because thy faith hath made thee whole. And immediately, somebody say immediately.
Immediately. And
immediately he received his sight and followed Jesus in the way.
Yeah.
And may the Lord add the blessings on the reading of his word
Yeah.
tonight.
Yeah.
You can go ahead and stop playing for one moment, but I'm going to get right into this word tonight. And I want you to repeat this after me. Say blind.
Blind.
Bartimaeus.
Bartimaeus.
Repeat it one more time. Say blind.
Blind.
Bartimaeus.
Bartimaeus.
So here we have a man, think about it for a second, a man who has been blind his whole entire life.
Yeah.
And he is now sitting on the side of the road, and he hears every single day people passing him by.
Yes.
And people living their life.
Right.
But yet he is on the side of the road. They cannot live his life because he is blind.
Right.
Now take this into fact for a moment, that in that day, in biblical days like that, when people were blind, they wore a different garment and they were set apart from everyone else, and they could not hang out with everyone else.
Right.
Because they had something wrong with them. They had a sickness, they had a disease, something was wrong with them. And so now, just think about it for a second. Something that blind Bartimaeus is doing, has done his entire life. He is sitting on the side of the road, and he is begging. Watch this. He is begging on the side of the road, hoping that one day he is going to be healed.
Yeah.
So blind Bartimaeus, I want to stop there for a moment. And isn't it funny that they called the man blind Bartimaeus? They do not just call him Bartimaeus, because when he was born, on his birth certificate, they did not write blind Bartimaeus. They wrote Bartimaeus. Are you here?
Amen. Man.
But why is it, prophet, do they call him blind Bartimaeus? Because they knew him by his situation. Not by who he really was.
That's it.
I feel my help in here, y'all. They knew Bartimaeus by his situation, not by who he was. So I came here to tell some people tonight that in 2017, the year we're coming in, we have one more day left in 2016, so don't get me wrong, because I said that right when I started. But in 2017, people, this is a prophetic word for you tonight, and you better write it down, write the date down, write the time down, because everything I ever say come to pass. I never had anything not come to pass. So everything I say has come to pass. And I'm telling you, this year of 2017, people will no longer call you by your situation. They will only call you by your name.
Lord.
Are you here? They will no longer call you by what you have associated yourself with, even if it wasn't your fault to begin with. It was not Bartimaeus' fault that he was born blind.
No.
He was born into it.
That's good.
There is some people under the sound of my voice. You have been going through situation after situation, and I came to tell you it's not been your fault. It's just because you've been born in it.
Preaching here. Been born in.
And there's some people under the sound of my voice in here tonight that generational curses, not saying you're possessed, not saying you have a problem, but generational curses have to be broken over your life tonight, because you cannot move forward if a chain is holding you down. I feel my help in here, y'all. I'm telling you tonight that no weapon formed against you shall be able to prosper, and you shall no longer be called by your situation. You shall be called by your name.
I'm there.
Yes, sir.
Hallelujah.
Yes, sir.
So now, we have a man who is known by his situation. Not by who he is. Not by who his father Timaeus is. He is known by his situation.
Yes.
And so as he is begging, and as he is crying, it says in verse 47, and when he heard, somebody say heard. And when he heard, you see, this is going to make some of you shout too. When you have a disability in one area, watch this, you always have a greater ability in another. Have you ever met a blind person? In person. I know maybe you've seen them in movies, all that stuff. But a blind person can literally hear if you're whispering across the room.
Come on.
Because they have used what they have instead of accepting what it is that they do not have.
Come on.
Now there are some people in here, and I'm just talking to you. I'm not really preaching right now. I'm just talking to you. But there's some people under the sound of my voice that you have spent so much time talking about what it is you don't have. Instead of using and building what it is that is already at your disposal. And so blind Bartimaeus, it says, and when he heard.
When he heard. Right. When he heard. That's the word. When he heard.
What did he hear? That it was Jesus of Nazareth.
Yes. Amen.
And isn't it funny? He didn't have to see Jesus.
Heard.
Because let's take you back a few days or a few years. You know there was people on them streets talking about Jesus. You know there was people on them streets telling stories about Jesus. Like, hey, did you hear about him raising that woman up from the dead? Did you hear about this man named Jesus? He turned the water into wine. Did you hear about this man named Jesus who has done all of these things? And Bartimaeus, little does he know that Bartimaeus is sitting on the side of, I feel like preaching it here. He is sitting on the side of the road. And he is hearing the very thing that is coming to save him.
Come on. Amen. Walk, sir.
Imagine it for a second.
Yes, sir.
Bartimaeus is sitting on the side of the road, known by his situation, not by his name. He is sitting on the side of the road.
Yes, sir.
And he is hearing people every day live their life. He is hearing people every day be able to have businesses. He is hearing people every day begin to spend quality time with their family. When he has to sit on the side of the road and he has to beg and he has to sit there with no family and he has to sit there and look different, but yet he hears what they are talking about, but he cannot see what it is that they're talking about. And seeing is the only thing that is keeping him from them.
Yes. Glory. You in the house, sir.
Somebody say blind. Come on, say it like you mean it. Say blind. Bartimaeus. Say blind. Bartimaeus. So he sat by the highway side begging. Because obviously he couldn't get a job, he couldn't make money, he couldn't do anything because he was blind. So he had to beg. And then when he heard, somebody say heard, that it was Jesus of Nazareth, he began to cry out and say, Jesus, thou son of David, have mercy on me. But watch this next part in verse 48. It says, and many charged him that he should hold his peace. So not only was he known by his name, not only was he known by his situation, not only was he sitting on the side of the street begging and expecting for a miracle to happen. Not only was he there and he heard Jesus, And he finally makes up in his mind. He said, I'm finally ready to experience what it is I have heard all of these years. I don't know what you're coming here for tonight, but there are some people under the sound of my voice that you are ready to see and experience what it is you have heard all of these years. Ooh, I feel my hip in here, y'all. I'm telling you. So now blind Bartimaeus. Blind Bartimaeus.
Glory.
I'm painting a picture in your mind so you can see what's going on here. Blind Bartimaeus, he's sitting on the side of the road. He is begging, and then he hears Jesus is coming by. And so he knows, he said, I heard about this man. I sense this man, even though I cannot see this man. But I hear his voice, even though I've never met him, but I know his voice because of what others have said about him. So now I hear Jesus, but even though I can't reach him, I can't touch him, but I can use what I have, even though I can use what I got in order to get what I want.
Come on.
Because if he did it for somebody else, why can't he do it for me?
Come on. Yes. Oh, you preaching good. Thank you.
So now blind Bartimaeus, notice I'm calling him still by his situation, not by his name. Blind Bartimaeus, he begins to yell, Jesus, thou son of David, have mercy on me.
Yes.
Jesus, thou son of David, have mercy on me. And what kind of power do you have when you speak and you make Jesus stand still?
Come on now.
Bartimaeus was blind, but he made Jesus. When you say Jesus, does he stop? Or does he keep on going?
Come on. Yeah.
I didn't come in here to play tonight. I came here to preach. I'm telling you, so. Jesus, thou son of David, have mercy on me. And it says in the word, Jesus stood still.
Yes.
Jesus stood still. And he didn't ask him. No. He commanded him to be called. Because even though you're going to make me stand still, you still got to come the rest of the way. A lot of people ain't going to like that right now. They expect to make Jesus stand still and say, hey, you come to me, I ain't coming to you. Because they look at what they don't have.
Come on now.
What they really have.
Right.
And commanded him to be called, and they called the blind man. Notice they are still calling him the blind man by his situation and not by his name. And they called the blind man, saying unto him, be of good comfort. Rise, because he calleth thee. And remember, these were the same people that told him to shut up. There's about to come a moment in time where everybody who told you to be quiet, everybody who told you to stay on the side of the street, everybody who told you to keep on begging, when Jesus stands still and commands you to come, they're going to have to help you up. And they're going to have to walk you to where you really. Somebody needs this tonight.
Yes, sir. Hallelujah.
Repeat this after me and say, I don't know what you came to do. But I came to praise the Lord. Somebody say amen all across this room. So when Jesus stood still and commanded him to be called, and they called the blind man, saying unto him, be of good comfort. Rise, because he calleth thee. And remember, these were the same people who were telling him to shut up about 2 minutes ago. And so it says in verse 50, and this is where I want to spend just a few moments, just for a second, because this is going to change your life forever if you really believe it, and if you really do what I'm telling you to do tonight. And it says, and he, casting away his garment, rose and came to Jesus.
Glory.
So Bartimaeus knew where his miracle was. But he did not. Watch this. He did not. Somebody say did not.
Did not.
Somebody say did not.
Did not.
He did not wait for Jesus to move.
That's deep there. Yes,
so many times we miss our miracle, we miss our blessing, because you know there's a difference Y'all gonna catch me here. There's a difference between waiting on God and sitting on God. Waiting, look it up because it's translated in the Hebrew. Waiting is not no action.
Wow.
You hear me? Waiting is not waiting as we think waiting is.
Come on.
Waiting is not being comfortable where you are, but doing what you have to do at the present moment until the time comes where you can advance out of where you are in that present moment. So waiting, blind Bartimaeus, because he's still known by his situation, not by his name. Blind Bartimaeus calls out to Jesus, Jesus, thou son of David, have mercy on me. And everybody around him saying, shut up, you don't deserve to talk to Jesus because you're blind, you wear a different garment, and you're not one of us, so Jesus ain't talking to you today. But then immediately Jesus heard. He didn't see Bartimaeus. He heard. You hear me? Amen. Jesus heard Bartimaeus.
Yes, yes.
Just like Bartimaeus heard Jesus. So Bartimaeus cries unto Jesus, Jesus, thou son of David, have mercy on me. And immediately everyone says, be quiet. You don't deserve to call his name. You don't deserve to be around him anyways. You're not even supposed to be here. Why are you here? You're not supposed to be around us normal people. Why are you even here? Then Jesus stood still. And he commanded him to come.
Amen.
Notice Jesus did not look at his weakness. Because Jesus did not help him get up. God will never take you out of a situation that is giving you the power to go through.
Amen.
Don't forget that. God will never bring you out of a situation that is giving you the power to go through. For God is able to do exceedingly abundantly above all that we could ever ask or think, according to the power that worketh in you. So the same power that raised Christ Jesus from the dead lives on the inside of you. So why would Jesus need to help me up? If I'm just blind, my feet work.
Right. Amen.
So now, Jesus calls back to Bartimaeus and commands him to get up.
Yes.
Watch this. But Bartimaeus knows, because he's done it all of his life, he's begged. He's a beggar. And he's wearing beggar's clothes. And now when Bartimaeus rises, he knows in his mind to leave his beggar's clothes behind him, because he is no longer going to be a beggar once he reaches the king. Watch this, we miss our blessings so many times because we cry out to Jesus. We hear Jesus. Even though we got faith, even though we can't see him, we can hear him, so we get up. And we begin to try to make our way to Jesus, but still looking the same way.
All right now.
My God. You better preach.
And what you wear is going to follow you.
Right.
What you wear, unless I take it off, it's going to follow you wherever you go.
Right. Amen.
Preach good.
So Bartimaeus knew, if I'm going to get what I need from Jesus, I better take this thing off.
Yes.
Because I am no longer going to be known by my situation. I'm going to be known by my name.
Yes.
Name.
Are you getting something here?
Amen.
So, and he being blind Bartimaeus, because he is still blind, so they are still calling him blind Bartimaeus. And he, casting away his garment, rose on the side of the street and came to Jesus. And now, watch this. Now, Jesus has never seen Bartimaeus before because he just heard him. So now there was no garment on Bartimaeus. So when Bartimaeus finally reaches Jesus, Jesus asks, what can I do for you? Because he does not see his situation.
Right. Amen.
I'm telling you, man, he gets somewhere. What would happen if you walk into a place and you don't look like what you've been through, so don't nobody know what you've been through, so they ask you how you doing.
Amen.
Even though you're blind.
Right.
And you're looking at him and you say, I'm doing good.
Yeah.
But you can't see.
Yeah. Amen.
God is good all the time, but you can't see.
Yeah.
I know God has me right where he wants me, but you can't see. I know that God is about to bless me financially, but I can't see. I have a dream, I have a vision, I have a goal, and I'm doing things that God is telling me to do. I just got up from the side of the street. I took my garment off, and he told me to come here, but I can't see. And I'm right here, standing before the King, and now he is asking me, what can I do for you?
Yes, Lord.
Reggie just began to play very softly. And the king is now asking Bartimaeus, blind Bartimaeus, what can I do for you? But Jesus, did you not see me on the side of the street begging? What can I do for you? But Jesus, did you not see what I was wearing before I came to you? But what can I do for you right now? I'm not talking about what you've been through. I'm not talking about where you came from. I'm talking about what can I do for you right?
Yes, Lord. Yes. Preach, God. Preach, sir. My God.
What can I do for you?
My Jesus.
I feel the power of God in this house. That's perfect. The strings like that is perfect. What can I do for you? And still being known as the blind man, because remember, everyone else saw Bartimaeus on the side of the street, but Jesus didn't see him. He just heard him. And so now everyone's still calling him the blind man. Jesus doesn't even call him the blind man because he didn't know he was blind. Jesus did. Of course, we know Jesus knows all things, but I'm just telling you this for a principle here tonight. And Jesus is standing there and he says, "What can I do for you?" And the blind man, still being called blind, even though his garment is already off, and he is really not seen as blind anymore. Jesus looks back at him and says, "What can I do for you?" The blind man said to Jesus, "Lord, I need to receive my sight." There's some people under the sound of my voice in here tonight that you're ready to see what it is that you've heard all of these years. You're ready to experience the blessings that you've heard these last 363 days, 364 days. You're ready to actually see what it is that everyone else has had access to except you. Everyone else is getting blessed, but I can hear it, but I can't see it for myself. Everybody else is doing all right. Everybody else is getting promotion. Everybody else is doing this and doing that, but I can't see it for myself. And Jesus answered unto him, saying, "What can I do for you?" And the blind man said unto him, "Lord, that I might receive my sight." And Jesus said unto him, this is very powerful tonight. Jesus said back unto him, notice now, that they are not saying that Jesus said unto the blind man.
Hallelujah.
A lot of people skip over that. But now they're not calling, and Jesus said unto blind Bartimaeus.
No.
And Jesus said unto him, now who he really is. Go. Jesus didn't say, lift your hands. Let me put oil on you. There's nothing wrong with oil. There's nothing wrong with any of that. I'm making a point right now. Jesus didn't say, disciples, come hither. Let me anoint your hands, and then you lay hands on this man so that he can be healed. Jesus didn't say that. Jesus said unto him, go. Thy faith hath made thee whole.
Yes.
And watch this before we get happy tonight. And it says, and immediately he received his sight.